Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about a collab that I'm really happy to be a part of because I love me some Sega Saturn and I love the custom painting that Pucho Magic does. Let's get into it. First step, as always, is to rip the console open. Thankfully, Sega always uses Phillips screws, makes it extra easy to get into this Saturn. So let's rip it open. With the console completely torn apart, it's time to take those shells and send them Pucho's way for a little bit of a TLC. After saying bon voyage those shells, it's time to go ahead and pull out the BIOS. We're going to replace that with a region-free BIOS. And we're going to pull out the SRAM and replace it with an FRAM, which will allow when the battery inevitably dies, we will not lose our backups, which is really important. So I wanted to show a little bit more of the actual region-free BIOS modding process here. I've actually never shown this before, and I think it's time that I finally give away one of my biggest secrets when we're doing this mod. So what I actually do is I'll pop up the two pins that need to be floating. Those are the first two pins on the chip. And then what I actually do is I actually turn the region-free BIOS into an SOJ package by bending over all the pins. Now the reason why you have to do this is because the replacement BIOS, the region-free BIOS, is actually too big of a chip to fit on the legacy pads that are there from the Sega Saturn. So by turning it into an SOJ chip, it'll make it super easy for them all to fit. And while there is certainly a risk that you may, break the chip or break a leg off the chip, I can tell you I've been doing it this way and I've probably done hundreds of these at this point, and it's really only happened to me a few times, especially early on. Also, when you're buying these, they're so cheap to buy that it's really not that big of a deal if you mess it up. But anyway, just wanted to drop this tip in there because, quite frankly, I've never seen anyone talk about it, and this is the way I've been doing it now for a really long time, and I've had really, really good success with it. Okay, last step with the region-free BIOS is just to go ahead and solder in the power and ground wires to solder to those floating pins. I also already installed the FRAM chip. I didn't really feel a need to show it here. I haven't installed the ground pin to pin 21 yet, but I'll do that off camera. Well, I didn't know they sent packages in prop propeller planes, but yeah, I guess they do. So I'm going to go ahead and rip apart the top half of the shell here and get access to the CD drive. Now, Pucho had told me that one of the things he wanted done to this console was to go ahead and drop an LED into the drive itself, into the window. So we're going to go ahead and ruin some paint here. Yeah, if you don't want to see paint get chipped, yeah, I'd look away. Well, I guess the only upside to all that is at least it's on the underside of the CD tray, so you'll never really have to see it. Now we're going to go ahead and install the LED in here. I'm going to go ahead and use an individually addressable LED. I find these to be more elegant. I'm using the SPE 110, which is the same one that I used in my previous how to do an RGB LED mod video, so there's going to be a link to that or a card in the upper right hand corner in case you missed it. We also see how to install it here on a Sega Saturn as well. So to do the RGB LED mod properly, we got to rip the RGB LED controller open, and we want access to that bare board so we can keep its footprint as small as possible. I'm also dropping in an RGB LED individually addressable into the controller port as well, and prior to installing this, I did remove the legacy green LED that had been there previously. So just to point out what I'm doing here, if you want to try it yourself, the first pin on the power supply is a 5-volt line, and the bottom one is ground. Now you're going to want to check your power supplies. Sega did label it specifically to tell you what voltage each one is. Some of the older models, the first pin is 9 volts, and the second pin is 5 volts, so just be cognizant there, but this one, the first pin is 5 volts, and the bottom pin is ground. So I'm going ahead and soldering some wire into here, which will be eventually connected to the SPE 110, the RGB LED controller. And here's a detailed view of the inside of the case. You can kind of see how I've got everything oriented and organized. You can see I'm running the LEDs, how that's all getting done. It's important to make sure that you can disassemble everything, which is why you're seeing some connectors being used in here. You always want to be able to do maintenance and take things apart. It's an important lesson. And I've got the mod chip propped up here so it's not on bare metal, just using some like adhesive foam. With my part done, let's put it back together and admire how she looks. So in case it's not absolutely obvious enough, the paint job that Pucho Magic did on this thing is fantastic. It is like glass. There is no orange peel. It is completely smooth, and honestly, I felt bad putting fingerprints on this thing. It looks that good. But anyway, I'm kind of showing you guys how these individually addressable LEDs work and how you can control them. They all work via Bluetooth and your cell phone, so you can change them and you can do all kinds of different effects with them. The effects aren't as striking on something like this, just because there's only 2 LEDs, but I can tell you they're still a heck of a lot of fun to play with, but these red ones just really do it for me. So now that we've had a little bit of time to admire the console, check out the LED mod, I think it's time to check out what some of the hard mods actually do. So let's go ahead and take a look at how the region-free BIOS works, as well as the mod chip. So we've got the Sega Saturn hooked up to my LCD TV via the FrameMeister and RGB SCART, and the first game we're going to check out is a backup of Battle Garega. Battle Garega is a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up that was made by Raising and published by Electronic Arts. This is an awesome shoot 'em up that is absolutely tough as nails. Well, let's check it out. Just to show off some more of the region-free capability of the system, here's Shinobi X, which is known as Shinobi Legions in the United States. This is another take on the Shinobi games, the classic 16-bit Genesis games. While this game always seems to get mixed reviews, I at least always seem to enjoy it, and I definitely think it's worth a play. I'm not gonna lie, the digitized sprites I could have done without. However, I think the overall gameplay is just a heck of a lot of fun, and I really like the defensive aspects of the game that they've added. So, with all that being said, let's check it out. Overall, I'm super happy with the way this console turned out. And you know what? I'm really happy when multiple people can come together and create something really cool. It's something I'm really proud of and I hope to do more of in the future. With all that being said, I want to thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a comment, a like, and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one here soon.